Hey, welcome for video 3 for 7th Sea. This is again the walkthrough for 7th Sea. So, we're going to go through turn flow, cover different actions and so forth, and then and whatever may not be covered in the first couple turns that we go flow through, I'll just take time to explain separately in this video. So we're going to walk through setup. Now, things you're going to need for setup are two things. Really two things only. You're going to need your draw deck, which is going to consist of your 5 C's. So here are my 5 C cards. And then also, so you need these are not considered part of the draw deck number. So you still need to bring your 5 C's, but then you need also your draw deck. Your draw deck is going to consist of, part of your draw deck will be your starting captain, the starting ship, so the starting captain, an appropriate ship that matches, and then of course you can put in your starting crew. I've pre-selected, but technically you can actually go through and pull it out and select which ones you want at the time that you're sitting down with your opponent. But I've already decided which ones work best generally. Anyway, so that's what you're going to need, is make sure that with your draw deck at least you have from your draw deck the captain. So my captain is Kaladin. And then, of course, he's going to be sailing on this ship, the Strange Skies. So that is required. Make sure you have your ship and captain in your crew. From your draw deck here, and that's it. And then the other last thing you need to make sure you have for setup are anything used as tokens to be your ship markers. I'm using 2 very small dice. This charcoal colored one is going to be representing this is my ship token. This green colored one will be my opponent's ship token. And that's it. That's all you need. And we'll go ahead and run through setup really quick. So, my opponent, like I said, both players need to bring a set of C cards. And he has his. But we're going to just determine randomly, we're going to say that assume that I'm being the one that's selected to use my C cards. So his, we'll just set aside. Alright, so setup is very quick. You're going to take your C cards. You're going to put them on the table, like so, between you and your opponent, in this order. Alright, so it's going to be in this order. We are going to have Trade C, Frothing C, La Boca, Forbidden C, and the Mirror. And that's going to be the order. And that's what you're going to do. Alright, so you put it between the players like that. Then you're going to go ahead. Each player is going to take their ship and their matching captain. And you're going to put it this way, like that. Now, obviously you'd leave more room between the C line and your stuff. But there's limited space because of the camera angle and so forth. So, because of the camera space and table space. So, I'm just going to put it a little bit higher than I normally would, but that's it. So, you put the captain and the ship like that. So, there we go. Now, you take your starting crew, and I have mine too. I'm going to be starting with Dahlia and Galley Captives. And you put them like that. Just like that. But there you go. And there you go. I'm set up. I just need to shuffle my draw deck and just need to shuffle my draw deck and draw. I'm going to take my starting. And then he's going to do his. So, and I don't have the room on his side, so I'm just going to put it all in one straight line. All right. So there's his captain, his ship, and his starting crew. There we go. And then our tokens, our ship tokens, mine's going to be wherever my captain's starting area says, which is Forbidden Sea. So there we go. And then his says Frothing Sea, so there's his. Now we just go ahead and shuffle. Here's my draw deck, and then I'm going to have 2 different piles. I'm going to have my discard pile here, and then my sunk pile here. And again, you'd have a lot more space between this and the C line. And in a full game with a lot of room for the table, again, it's just kind of scrunched so you can see the general layout. But there's my draw deck, and then again I have my discard pile and my sunk pile. Discard pile will be where things normally go if they're discarded. You only put stuff in the sunk pile for things that sink. There's a difference. You can possibly get stuff back from your draw pile with other cards, but you will never be able to get stuff back from your sunk pile normally. So, alright, so now that we've all set up, that's what it looks like for setup, we are good. So now we're going to draw our starting hand of 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So there we go. We have our starting hand. Here's our starting hand of 7. I'm going to put my starting hand over here. And he's going to have starting hand of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. He has so many freaking characters. It makes things so hard. Okay. Alright. And I'll put his hand here. Just for now. I'll just put it over here. Okay. So we are ready to go. Draw our starting hands. Here we go. Now the game is going to consist of a play turn that will be repeated until one person meets victory conditions. A play turn is going to consist of 4 phases, and there are going to be 3 of the 4 phases are going to be simultaneous, meaning we're both acting at the same time, basically. And then the second of the 4 phases will be non-simultaneous, and that is going to be wherein that we are both going to switch off taking actions. There are a number of 7 to 9. I forgot the exact number. There are about 7 to 9 different actions you can take, and once you take an action, your opponent gets to do an action, and vice versa. And you keep going until both players pass consecutively. What that means is that you could pass as an action, and then your opponent could act, and then it could come back to you, and then you could act again. So passing does not forego you from the entire phase. It just means you're opening up to a chance where it might end if your other players pass as well consecutively. So, so if all players pass consecutively, ends the action phase. Anyway, so let's jump into it. So first thing we're going to do is we determine turn order. First phase is determine turn order. You determine that by whoever has the most sailing in their crew. So my sailing is 4 from the captain, 0 from Dahlia, 4 from the galley captive. So that is 8. His sailing is 3 from Philip Goss, 0 from Henderson, 3 from Melinda Goss. So he has 6, so 6 versus 8. We've determined turn order that I will be the first one to take an action during the action phase. So now we go to the action phase, and this is where we start playing actions. Now, the first action that you can play during the action phase, the first example I'm going to show because I can do it, and it's going to make sense to do it, is play an adventure card onto a sea. And that sets up for you being able to unlock further game effects and bonuses if you can complete the adventure. So mine is going to play here as Artifact Cannon. So I'm going to play the Artifact Cannon in the Trade Sea. So that is one action you can do. So there's my action. Since I did an action, it goes to him. Now, he can also do an action, and he does not want to do it because that's not going to be the best action. So instead, what he's going to do for an action is he's going to go ahead and he's going to go ahead and he's going to attack Philip Goss to go ahead and play he's going to attack Philip Goss to go ahead and play Sergei. To play Sergei Nevaisi. So, this is the second action, is you can go ahead and hire crew. So first action example I showed you is playing an adventure. So playing an adventure onto a sea. Next action you can do is go ahead and hire crew. So this example, I attacked Philip Goss to generate 4 influence. because he has 4 influence rating, generated 4 influence, and then I use that to go ahead and recruit my entire crew, because this crew requires 4 influence from that icon up there you can see. And again, it's from the layout from the cards you saw. So again, you pay the 4 influence, I hired a crew. You put the hired crew into your crew. So that's his action. It goes back to me, and I can do an action. And I believe, yes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and I need to get some stuff going. Show. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, I'm going to go ahead and attack Dahlia and Claire to go ahead and generate 3 influence, 2 from Kaladin and 1 from Dahlia, so that I can go ahead and play a crew, to hire a crew as well, I'm sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and hire Anil. So I'm going to hire Anil as another crew, and that is hiring crew. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to hire that crew, and then it goes back to him, and he is going to go ahead and attack Henderson and Sergei to generate 2 influence to go ahead and play Ambrosia School onto Melinda Goss. And so that is the third action, is playing an attachment. So I just played an attachment onto Melinda Goss. Alright, so now it's my turn for an action. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see, what do I want to do now? Yep. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and attack galley captives. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, never mind. That's not what I want. Never mind. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and attack. So another action you can do is you can attack galley captives to go ahead and do a move action. So I'm going to do a move action. So I'm going to attack galley captives to go ahead and So I'm going to attack galley captives, go ahead and do a move action to go ahead and move my ship here to Laboka. So I attack to generate the sailing, and then I go ahead and move my ship that many seas. So I went over 1 sea over to Laboka. So that was my action. Alright, so now it goes to him for an action. So far we've done attacking. So far what we've done is we've gone ahead and done. So far what we've done is we've done a. Yep. All right. So far what we've done is we've done a playing adventure, hiring crew. We've played an attachment. And then we just also did moving a ship. So we've done 4 different actions that you can do during this turn. So now what we're going to do is, it's his turn. He's going to attack her for another 2 influence to go and play a second Ambrosia School onto herself. So we now have 2 Ambrosia Schools, and you can do up to 2 because cards with a knack are limited by the number they are in that level. She's a swordsman too, in other words, a +2 swordsman, so she can have up to 2 of these knack cards on her, which I just put. So now she's maxed out, but we've gone ahead and done that, so that is what she did for an action. now I'm going to go ahead and tack Anil to go ahead and play an action. So this is your 5th action you can do, is you can do an action effect, whether it's someone in play or playing an action card from your hand, which is what I'm doing. I'm playing Stroke. It says untack one of your row crews. So this is my action, is I'm playing an action card. That's your 5th option. And that goes in my discard pile. And I'm going to untack my galley captives. So that's an action. Alright. Now, since I've done that action, it goes back to him. And he is going to pass. He has no other actions to do. So he's going to pass, and it goes back to me. And then I am also going to pass. No, I'm not going to pass, I'm sorry. I'm going to also attack galley captives to do another move action. Again, you don't tack a ship when you move. You tack the crew on the ship to generate the sailing to move your marker, which represents your ship. So I'm going to go ahead and tack the galley captives since I untacked them with Stroke. So I'm going to move over to here. So there we go. So that was my action. It goes back to him because he passed, but I did an action, so it goes back to him. And he is going to look again. He still can't do anything, so he's going to pass. So he passes, and then it goes back to me, and I am going to have to pass. So that's what we do. So we passed everything. So now, since we both passed, it ends the action phase. So we've done 5 actions. So already in a short time, I've shown you layout, how things work, a number of different actions you can take. There are still a few more that we need to cover, so that is, we're halfway through the play turn. I'm sorry. So the next phase in the play turn is the draw phase. So after we've both passed, once all players have passed consecutively, ends action phase, and now we go to draw phase. All players simultaneous draw 3 cards. Again, this is simultaneous, so we both get to draw 3 cards. Now, once you have drawn the 3 cards, you look. But you look at the 3 cards, and you look at your hand after drawing the 3 cards, I'm sorry, and if you have more than 7, you need to discard down to 7. So, looking at my characters here, alright, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He does not need to discard either, so we keep all our cards. Now, so we've done the draw phase, and then we move to the last phase in the play turn, which is untack phase. So now we are going to untack all of our characters. We untack all of our cards, not just characters. There are other cards that attack as well. So we're going to go ahead and untack all of our cards. Untack. Just going to untack. I'm going to keep these two together to make it simpler. Alright, so we now untacked everything, and that finishes the untack phase. So we've done one full play. So we've done one full turn play. So I have the advantage if I press right now. So I definitely want to do that. So I'm going to tack my galley captives to initiate a board. So this is the next action you can do. The 6th action I'm going to highlight is you can do a boarding action. If you're on the same sea as an opponent, you can tack for generate sailing, and then pay that sailing to initiate. And the sailing you have to tack has to meet your move cost for your ship. Mine's 4, so I tacked galley captives to generate 4 sailing, and that initiates a board. Now, when he has a board initiated, he has an option that he can go ahead and negate that board by attacking crew to generate sailing equal to the move cost of his ship, to basically lore-wise move out of the ship. We're in the same seas, and our ships are I just tried lore-wise to move my ship into his ship to lock in, so that I'd be able to start sending people over. Now, looking at his hand, he does not want to do that right now. he'd rather not. He'd rather take the initiative on the board rather than the defense, because he has the ability to do that. So he's going to attack Philip Goss. So he's going to attack Philip Goss to go ahead and negate that. And the reason he's doing that is he would rather be the aggressor, because there's an advantage to being the aggressor on a board if you are the one boarding. But he would have to attack Sailing to do that. And he wants to send her over, actually. Oh. Actually, I'm sorry. He's not going to do that. He would love to send Melinda Goss over, but that means he needs to have other Sailing to initiate the board, just like you saw what I did. So he's not going to do that. So his action, he's going to do something else. But that was an example of initiating a board. Now, he did cancel it, so that means that the boarding was not successful. Now, later on, I'll show you what happens when you have a successful board, but that, again, is an example of a boarding action. He's going to do what we call a cannon attack. So, the other action you can do is a cannon attack, which means you take any person who has a cannon value, and you attack them, and say I'm doing a cannon attack, which will mean that your opponent will go ahead and take a point, will suffer so many hits equal to the value of their cannon attack. Their cannon, skill. So his cannon skill is 1. So he does a cannon attack and it'll do 1 damage to me. So now I would have to I'd have to suffer hits. So I'm going to do that because he figures, why not? He knows I can absorb it, but he may as well. So instead of absorbing it, though, I'm going to play a reaction. I'm going to play Eye Patch as a react. And as a react, Eye Patch is going to go on to my captain. And that eliminates the 1 hit. There are 2 actions here that I almost never do, but you can do. One you can do is, for an action, you can go ahead and sink one of your crew. What that allows you to do is free up space. None of us are full yet, so we wouldn't do that, but if you need to, that is an action you can do. The other action is, if you have any of these adventures sitting out here in the sea, you can, as an action, discard one of your adventures. And that you would want to do if your opponent has cards that are going to make you pay for having uncompleted adventures. Some cards out there do that. Attack. So the only thing we haven't done fully is a full complete board, a successful boarding action. So what we're going to do is, because I do want to run through that, we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So I am going to go ahead and we're just going to run through and tell you how to do a boarding action, and that'll be the end of the video. And I hope you enjoy this. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and attack a galley captives to initiate a board. And I want to do it as soon as possible because I do not want him to get more people. And just because, for sake of examples, I'm going to let it happen. So we are having a boarding action. So our ship is locked. He does not negate it. Our ships are now low-rise. Our ships are locked. And I throw someone forward. I'm going to go ahead and attack Hamish to go ahead, and I'm going to attack Hamish to go ahead and initiate a game effect instead of a boarding action. What Hamish says is I can, instead of performing a boarding attack, I can attack Hamish to inflict 5 hits on the other ship in the boarding. Then I suffer 3 hits. Hamish cannot attack to absorb these 3 hits. So I'm going to attack him. He takes 5 hits. So it's 5 automatic. He can't do anything about it. So he has to suffer hits. So what he's going to do is, let's see, that one has +1 because of his ability. So he has, wow, a lot. So he's going to go ahead and attack these 2. Actually, no, he's going to attack. Oh, yeah. Alright, so what he's going to do is he's going to attack Sergei Neveas. Oh, actually, nope. He's going to attack Henderson. No, actually, it doesn't matter. Alright, so who he's going to attack, actually, is he's going to attack the Entertainer, since he's not going to go ahead and cancel anything. He's going to take the boarding. So he's going to attack the entertainers. And he's going to play, let's see, he's going to play Too Close, and as a react, he's going to play Too Close for Comfort, adds 2 to the swashbuckling value of someone you're attacking to absorb damage. So, I need 5, that's 2, but there are 4 or more different crewmen here, so that makes everyone +1 for the Gossman. So he's 3, and then +2 from that, so that's all 5. So that's what he did for the 5. That's what he did for the 5, I'm sorry. Okay, so now, it is now his initiative. Since I did the first boarding attack, now he can send someone over, and he is going to do that. He's going to send Melinda Gossman over. So, he's going to send Melinda Gossman over, and I am going to go ahead and send Dahlia up as someone to defend. Actually, no. That would not be worth it. I'm going to go ahead and send up my captain to defend. That's what I'm going to do. So, my captain's going to defend. And that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So, my captain's going to defend. So, now that we have people engaged, what he gets to do is do an attack. So, he has an effect, though, that's going to kick off because of his school here. So, because of his schools here, he's going to have the upper hand. He's going to be able to go ahead and draws a card after his card plays a boarding attack. So, once she plays a boarding attack, she'll be able to draw a card. She's got 2 of those. So, she's going to go and do a boarding attack. And she's going to do what she probably won't use, which is a dagger. Now she gets to draw 2 cards, and she's used both of her schools now for the attack. That's bad for me because I don't know if I'm going to be able to stop this. So, alright, so what I'm going to do, that's a dagger attack. I've got to block the dagger attack. So, I'm going to go ahead and block the dagger attack with a Kaleem the Believer. Okay, so I'm going to block. Now, so this is what happens, is as the one doing the boarding attack, he needs to play a card from his hand. So, as you see, these cards have different symbols as you watch from the other video, but I'm choosing to do a dagger attack. So I'm putting that card from my hand on the table, and I have to defend against a dagger attack. So, I'm going to defend. I look at my hand, I have a card here that does defend against a dagger attack, the D there on the bottom. So, I'm going to defend against the dagger, and that creates a counter attack to him of a club. So, he does have a club defense that he can do. He's going to go ahead and play that as a club defense, which will come back to me as a punch. So, he's going to do that as a punch. I have to defend a punch. And I only have 1 card that can defend the punch. Oh no, I have 2, never mind. So, oh, this is gonna hurt. Okay, so I'm gonna have to defend. That stinks. Okay, I'm gonna defend the punch. It's gonna come back as a dagger. He can defend the dagger. He's going to defend it with this. So it comes back to me as a club, and you just go back and forth like this until someone can't defend. So I'm going to defend here with the club, which is going to come back as a thrust. I know how this is going to go because he's got more cards than me. So he's going to defend with that, which will come back, defend the thrust, come back as a dagger. Defend the dagger, it's going to come back as a club. He only has one way to defend that, so he's got to use that, which is going to come back as a punch. I do have one punch. Defend that punch is going to come back as a slash. He has a way to defend the slash, which sucks. And and that comes back as a club, which means I gotta defend the club with that, which comes back as a punch. That was a dagger. It came back as a slash. Defend the slash came back as a club. Defend the club comes back as a punch. The only thing you can play is this. Defends as a punch, comes back as a slash. And ultimately, I can't defend it. So that sucks. Okay, so after this long back and forth, it comes back to him coming back with something that I cannot block. So as a react, that means that Kaladin has to attack to soak the damage that would be involved. And he sent forth, I'm trying to remember, oh yeah, he sent Melinda Goss forward. So that's all discarded. Everything I played is discarded. So that means that the total attack value is 4. So that's going to be a total of 4 damage that I'm going to take because of the attack. So Dahlia has to attack to absorb 3 because she went out to block. As a result, I'm going to go ahead and attack Anil to play this action, Peg Leg, which absorbs 3 of the hits. So, I'm going to absorb the hits. So I do that as a react. Okay. So, that's an example. We did that. That's an example of a boarding action that's successful in terms of an actual exchange. Now, since I was the aggressor, that was the first round. I did Hamish, and then he sent Melinda Goss. So that's after the round. We both acted. So the attacker, or the one initiating the boarding, went. The defender, the one who didn't initiate the board, went. So now we both draw 3 cards. So, and it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter who passes or whatever. It does not matter. You're going to draw 3 more cards. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So we draw 3 cards. Alright, so now, as the aggressor, I have to follow up, if I can, with at least one person. So, this is going to be bad. Okay, so I have to go forward with my galley captives. Oh no, what am I thinking? Oh shoot. Okay, I don't remember. Okay. So I have to follow up. He is going to go ahead and bring Henderson up to defend. Whoops, okay. Alright, nope, that's it. Okay. 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 So we would draw, and then we would go for another round, and as the attacker, I would have to follow up. But I think I made a mistake. I think I sent Kaldish up. I think I sent him up. this turn. It wasn't Dahlia. I don't remember. I really don't remember. What did I have in here? Yeah. I don't remember. So I'm just going to just let it end this way. But anyway, so I would normally have to send someone else up to follow up as an attack. And then he would be able to defend with somebody. Anyway, so yeah, I'd be able to follow up. As the attacker, normally I have to follow up with another person if it's possible. Which I would have to do. Let's see. Yep. So I would have to follow up with an attacker normally. Then he would be able to defend. We'd have to go at least one more round as me initiating it, and then we'd do another round. And then after that, after I've done the follow up, then I could choose to pass and not continue the boarding raid, or not continue the boarding action. But again, as the aggressor, you have to follow up at least once with another person you send over. But that's it. And you just keep going until again your opponent loses their crew. Or until one person loses all their crew and the ship sinks. But there you go. So that is how you do the actions in the game. That's how you do the turn flow. That's how you interact there. The only other thing I didn't show is completing an adventure. That's the last action, and that simply means that if you have a ship at a location. So let's say, for example, he had, let's see, 4. Yeah. So let's say, for example, his ship was actually over here. Let's say, this is just an example, his ship's over here. The last thing you can do as an action is you can go ahead and complete an adventure, which means he would go ahead and tack that much in adventuring to complete it. So he could attack the captain. Let's assume that this all ended and he had another, and he was there. He could attack this captain, for example, who has 3 adventuring, and then attack this guy for another adventuring. And that would give us 4 adventuring, which is what's required on here, because normally it's 6, but because it's 4 instead of 6, this allows, because it's a Forbidden Sea, it allows 4 instead of 6 adventuring to complete it. So he's going to attack that 4 and then complete the adventure. And if you complete the adventure, it tells you what happens. This one says that it goes on as a crew attachment. So he would then stick this onto a member of his crew, and that would give them a +2 swashbuckling and inflict 1 extra hit as well. So he could put this on to hurt him, for example. And that would be an example of, again, completing an adventure. So that is the last and final action. Like I said, the other 2 actions you didn't actually see me do was, again, discarding a crew or discarding an adventure. You can do one of those as an action, as I said. But that's it. So that's a turn flow, an example of action going. Stay tuned for my last video in this series where you see an actual full game. But there, I hope you enjoyed it, and that is 7th Sea. And I'll see you on the next episode.